Hi guys, welcome to another video and welcome to anyone that is new on here. Please do hit the subscribe button and be part of the Nessie channel. So today I actually want to talk to pre-nursing school student as well as the current nursing school student, maybe some of the professional nurses or the newly qualified professional nurses. And what is it that I want to talk about? I actually want to talk about finding your purpose in nursing. But to do something that you're passionate about and you'll never work a day in your life. And most of the times as nurses, as South African nurses, we are described as people that are rude, people that are mean, people who only do nursing because they want the money, of which it doesn't make sense to me because nursing doesn't have money at all. All right. If you don't believe what I just said, go ahead and watch my previous video where I give you guys the figures that nurses make in South Africa. Yeah, let's not make the intro super duper long. Let's just get on today's video. Alright, so if you are a returning subscriber, you obviously know what my passions are, and if you follow me on my social media platforms, that is Instagram as well as Facebook, you will know that I am extremely and deeply in love with adolescents and youth. I'm an HIV activist for the young. Now, how did I move from being a qualified professional nurse to being passionate about adolescents and youth, especially those that are living with HIV? So my purpose is to keep those who are living with HIV positively, and also keep those who are not living with HIV to not have HIV. That is practically my goal as an activist, as an adolescent and youth activist. And how did I get there? I obviously qualified in 2016, but prior that, before I could go to nursing school, I had always wanted to work with people. On the video, I think on my second video, I did mention about when I was growing up, I wanted to be a medical doctor. And now that I am older and I am trying to remember what is it that was fascinating me about medical doctors, I realized that I was actually in love with trauma and emergency. And I would say before I could go to nursing school, my love for medicine was trauma and emergencies. And I went into the nursing school and I wanted to be a trauma and emergency nurse. I was in love with Grey's Anatomy. My then boyfriend used to get me series of Grey's Anatomy, and I was just in love with everything that happens in an ER. And I went into the nursing school wanting to be a trauma and emergency nurse. And during my first placement, I think in first year, I was placed at a gateway clinic for 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks later, I was placed at an ER at a provincial hospital. And it was then that I realized, wow, what I saw on Grey's Anatomy is totally not what I want or what I was in love with. I wasn't really passionate about it. I realized that, have you ever seen someone cute and the moment you get in a relationship with them, you're like what? I can't do this. Yeah, that was me. I was at trauma and emergency unit, and I realized, but man, there is nothing fascinating here. I just didn't feel it. I remember the second placement after second semester, I was again placed at trauma and emergency unit in another provincial hospital. And I remember there was an incident where I literally ran out of the ward and went outside, and I felt like I was choking, or I don't know, I couldn't breathe. And when the operational manager came to me outside and he was asking what was going on, I told him that this place smells blood and I can't breathe. It's quite funny, and he tried to calm me down and make me understand that it was all in my mind, and the place was not smelling blood to a point where I could not breathe. I wouldn't say that was the time I realized that trauma and emergency was not for me, but the fact that there was nothing that was burning in my inside. I didn't have any burning desire in my inside every time I was in trauma and emergency. And years went by. That was first year. Second year, I did general nursing science. I was placed in medical wards, surgical wards, and I also felt nothing. Like I was not emotionally attached. I was not emotionally aroused. And I also went to theater. Theater was nice, but I felt like there was something that was missing. Like I didn't get the full satisfaction that I wanted to get for me to be able to identify my passion in nursing. I did theater, and then I did midwifery. Oh my goodness. Listen, I do not like midwifery, guys. Even to this day. Even to this day, I just don't like midwifery. I, however, was excelling on the theory part of midwifery, but come practicals, I just didn't want myself in any midwifery ward. I think one of the reasons that made me not to like midwifery so much, it was because of the fear that our lecturers instilled in us. Or not even just lecturers, but everyone who was around the field of midwifery at the time when I was practicing. Like people would always tell you, anything that goes wrong in the midwife sector, it is the nurse's fault, and SANC will come for you, or the government will come for you, or the patient will sue you and stuff like that. So I've always hated how when you are a midwife, you not fully in control of the situation. When I say you're not fully in control of the situation, I mean like the birth process is a God created or invented process, and meaning us as human beings and as science, we do not have the full capabilities and abilities of managing it or its complications. So I hated that. I hated the fact that you have to allow nature to take its course, and if anything bad happens, you get to account. So I think that's what made me not to like midwifery. Even to this point, I am not the best midwife. Yes, I am trained, I am certified and qualified, but I am just not so passionate about midwifery. And fourth year, I did psychiatry. Oh my goodness, like I was in love. Okay, I was super duper deeply in love with psychiatry. I remember I loved the theory part of it, even though it wasn't difficult. I wouldn't say the theory part of it was difficult. It wasn't difficult, but I feel like my lecturers at school didn't make it easier for us. I don't know, whatever I would read on the books, it's something that was totally different from what the lecturers wanted me to write during examinations. So I would read psychiatry on my textbooks and actually understand it, and go into the exam room and expect an 80%, and I would come back with a 50. So I wouldn't say psychiatry is difficult. I wouldn't say that. It's actually something that is so easy to understand. Or maybe it's because I've also been very passionate about psychology, and psychiatry and psychology, they normally like the other one gives to the other one. But I was completely in love with psychiatry. I also fell in love with the mental retardation psychiatry that we did, I think, last semester of fourth year. And we went and saw the patients in a hospital somewhere in the province and spent a week there. I think it was a week or 2 weeks, and I enjoyed it. I loved it, even though I was frightened a bit for the first few weeks at the mental retardation hospital, but I just fell in love with psychiatry. And by the time I qualified and became a professional nurse or a registered nurse, I had decided, I am a mental health nurse. I love mental health. That's what I'm going to specialize in. I have found the love of my life in nursing. And in terms of conditions such as HIV and AIDS, we don't really get to do them that much in nursing school. You don't get to do a lot of theory of HIV and AIDS. You don't dive deep into it. And even during practicals, there are no practical placement for HIV and AIDS. So every time I would come for practicals as a student nurse, I wouldn't be placed in a wellness clinic. So I didn't have practical exposure of HIV. Then I qualified, became a registered nurse, and it was in 2016 when I started working with people living with HIV. And I realized that HIV is a combination of everything. It's a combination of psychology, because being diagnosed with HIV also affects you psychologically. It's a combination of socio and economic lifestyle of an individual. It's a combination of a whole lot of things. I started being fascinated about HIV. I started being fascinated by the stories of people who are living with HIV. I started falling in love with how vulnerable they were with me in a consulting room. I started falling in love with the stories that they would tell me, and they led me into curiosity, because every time I would have a consultation with an individual, I would always try to make up scenarios about this condition, and I would find myself asking myself questions that are not yet answered by the department or any other scientists or researchers out there. And I realized that there is a whole lot of gap in the HIV field, not only research wise but also towards patients, in terms of helping patients to deal with living with the condition, and also to get the community to accept and eradicate stigma, to accept people that are living with HIV. And I realized that there was a missing puzzle, and that missing puzzle needed someone of my caliber to step in and make a difference. And that's when I realized I am more passionate about HIV than I am of psychiatry. In terms of psychiatry, I wanted to do it simply because I was just in love with it. It was the first love kind of situation with psychiatry, but with HIV, I realized that this could be a lifetime partner type of situation, because you constantly need someone to stand in the gap between a newly diagnosed individual and HIV, and to just help them to blend well and live positively and freely with HIV. So that's how I got to see that I am actually passionate about HIV more than I am with psychiatry. I still love mental health even to this day. To this day, mental health is still a part of me. It's still the love of my life, and it still plays a major role in living with HIV. And now when I got into the HIV field, I also was exposed to different types of patients. I was exposed to different types of researchers, and I wanted a corner where I wanted to be used and actually feel or live my purpose. And I realized the most vulnerable people around HIV right now are adolescents and youth and children, and that's when I was like, I'm going on this route full force. I am not turning back. I am now adolescents and youth trained, and I am also Kids Alive trained, and each and every single training that arises from HIV, I am also NIMART trained. So each and every single training that arises from HIV, I go for it, because I know this is where I want to operate. This is the corner that I would like to make an impact and live to change people's lives. So yeah, how I managed to get down to what exactly do I love, what exactly am I passionate about, what is it that I'm going to do and feel like I am not working at all even when I'm working. So I'm sharing this because I've got a lot of people on my DMs and everywhere else asking me, Z, I am a first year student and I don't want to just be a mere registered nurse. Obviously, nobody wants to just be a mere registered nurse. Everybody wants to function in their areas of specialty or their areas of passion. But what I can give an advice on a newly qualified professional nurse or on a newly enrolled student nurse is that take your time to identify what part of medicine are you interested in. What is it that you truly love? What is it that you can do theory wise as well as practical wise and actually enjoy and not feel like it's a burden or feel like you are working? Take your time, find it out. And as a newly qualified professional nurse, do not feel the need of quickly attaining a specialty. I have seen something, you guys, with nurses. They do different types of specialty at once. I've seen a nurse that has a trauma specialty. I've seen a nurse that has a midwife specialty. I've seen a nurse that has a PhD specialty. I've seen a nurse that has a theater tech specialty. Just one nurse having 4 different types of specialties. And I'm always thinking, what is this person going to do with so many specialties? Because you cannot obviously function 4 of them at once. And so for me, it totally doesn't make sense for me to go and study just for the sake of me having a whole lot of bars on my shoulders, or for me having a lot of certificates but not putting all of them at use at once. I would rather have someone that specializes in HIV and goes on and do masters in HIV and goes on and do a PhD in HIV than have someone that does midwifery, a theater tech, PhD, and all these other specialties. So take your time and don't feel pressurized to go to school simply because your peers or the people that you went to school with, or you were in class with, or you graduated with, are now registering for a certain program. No, darlings. I've got a lot of friends that are now currently doing a lot of programs that they had started immediately after we graduated. And during that time, I was just chilling, sipping on my tea, minding my own business, because I knew I might have graduated with them, but it doesn't mean that my journey is the same as theirs. It doesn't mean that I must embark on the same journey as theirs, or our road is the same, or our destiny is the same. So I had no reasons. I had no idea why did they choose the program that they did immediately after we've qualified. And maybe they had already identified their passions and their purpose in nursing, but I wasn't ready. And imagine if I had now felt the pressure that the people that I went to class with are doing postgrad studies, so it means I also have to do them. Where would I be right now? I think I would be miserable in some specialty that I don't even like, okay? So I would like to encourage everyone to take their time, chill, take your time, and identify what is it that you're truly in love with. Identify what is it that gives you the adrenaline rush every time you have to execute a task in that regard. Last year, I think it was last year, I did a lot of camps with Department of Education. So we would have about 250 learners in one area, in a hotel for a weekend, and we would have an event for the whole of that weekend. And what I had realized is that I was so much in love with those events. Every time I got invited to go and speak to these young people and to these adolescents, it would feel like I was not working. It would feel like I was off on duty on that time. And it was just fulfilling. It was amazing, and I love doing it, and I see myself doing that for as long as I live. Now, the funny thing is that when I looked at my salary advice a couple of months ago, I realized how much money I made from those camps compared to the money that I make in a consulting room. I still love what I do in a consulting room because I get to deal with people who are living with HIV, children, adults, basically everyone that's living with HIV. I get to deal with them. I still love it. But I realized that what I did at those camps with the adolescents and youth program, it made me more money than I make in a consulting room. And I was like, it's funny how I made more money on something that didn't even feel like it's work. I was just there enjoying myself, having the time of my life with the kids, and it didn't feel like a job or a task at all. It felt like I was on some vacation or team building type of situation. But when I looked at my salary advice, I realized, well, these camps have made me more money than I have made on public holidays when I go and do overtimes at my workplace. Not that I'm complaining, because I do love what I do in my consulting room. I actually enjoy it. So yeah, what I am here to say today is to encourage you guys, pre-nursing students, go ahead and do your undergrad nursing program, and eventually you will see what is it that you truly love. You will see what is it that you are truly passionate about, and simply follow that route. Don't find yourself doing different things at once. You end up being a jack of all trades, a jacket of many colors, someone that is just confused and not sure where they're going with their profession. I don't think there is growth in any of that. But yeah, this is my 2-cent opinion on further studying and on identifying your passion as a nurse. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you find it informative, and if you do, please do give it a massive thumbs up. If you are new on my channel, please do hit the subscribe button and be part of the Nesty channel. Please guys, hit that notification bell. I never remind you guys to do that, but please do hit that notification bell so that you can know every time I upload a video. The mood during this period of time, it's not too high, so you may not know about when exactly am I gonna upload, but hit that notification bell so that you can know, goodbye, I uploaded a video. I'll see you guys on my next one.